All right, welcome to Pickin Pod. We're doing goalie matchups. Do the second episode of that segment. Hopefully, with studs and plugs, we help you kind of climb the ranks a little bit this week, and hopefully we can polish it off with some goaltending for the weekend. So, kind of just jump into it right away. I mean, Andrei Vasilevskiy has been insane. Obviously, it's a no-brainer. We're not saying not play him or sit or pick him up. Just going to point out his numbers. I mean, he's 19 games played. He has 15 wins, 3 regulation losses, and 1 OT loss. His GA is 1.73, and his save percentage is 9.39. Pretty insane. I mean, would you risk? We'll maybe go to the hockey expert here on Brody. Would you risk maybe picking him early? Maybe in that kind of first or second round to get a staple, or because he's a goalie, do you leave him a little bit?
Yeah. Well, first, I appreciate the shout out there, but no, I think if you're looking at OwnersBox where you're taking 2 goalies and a 10-man roster total, so 8 other players, if you're in a 2-man and you have the first pick, like if you take Vasilevskiy, I think there's 4 clear standouts right now still in ADP, 4 guys that you kind of take, which are Matthews, McKinnon, McDavid, and Draisaitl. And obviously there's a bit of an order there, right? Like McDavid's still number 1, but I don't know if you take Vasilevskiy and then the other guy gets his 2 picks, you're still getting 2 of those 4 players, and you've got the undisputed number 1 goalie. So I think it's a strategy that's worth looking at, especially since you get lots of points on our platform for goalies for saves and wins. That I think it definitely needs to be asked with how he's doing and how Tampa's playing. That you can just kind of lock him in there and expect a win on any night he's playing for the most part. So it's definitely a strategy to consider, I would say.
Well, and yeah, Jared, before you make a comment, he's not you look at a lot of goalie tandems now, a lot of GMs are looking for that tandem, up total $10 million in cap. You have your starter at maybe 6 and then a solid backup, basically a 1B, take up the rest of the cap. But with this team, I mean, they locked him up long-term. And, the big cat wants to play the games. He made that clip last year or 2 years ago where he goes, I'm tired right before playoffs, and everyone freaked out. But I mean, since then, McElhinney's not getting any starts unless it's a back-to-back. He's played their last 5 in a row. So it's not like they're, maybe a Montreal scenario where they're going Price, Allen, because one's struggling, they're riding him. So yeah, like you said, he's going to get the games. And I mean, I don't think it's not a no-brainer, but I mean, definitely
consider, right? Instead of auto locking in McDavid, it's something to consider now, I think, with how he's been playing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the guys in front of him were pretty sick too, right? So it's
You got to give some credit to.
But it also helps them, maybe getting shutouts and whatnot, low scoring games, right? Which also adds up a value as well. But Jared, I don't know if you want to pop in on that or if you want to just head into your segment with the goalies. But you can make.
Yeah, I think if he's playing 3 games and they have the Lightning have 4 games and he's probably going to start 3 games. That's just such an advantage. I wouldn't be if he was a top 4, top 3 pick in an 8-man, it would be acceptable. Even a 16-man, him getting 3 wins for you, if that happens, that's almost wins you your week. That's just those points are so valuable, especially with goalies now that these teams are playing these kind of these systems where these goalies are almost playing 50-50. Having that solid goalie, best goalie in the league, he's going to play 3 games this week. It's such an advantage. Pick him up early. I'll draft him. He'll be my first guy on my team if I see that. Such an advantage on OwnersBox, getting that 40-point game. And then you're going to hit those 4 starts. You don't have to scramble last day or 2 days before to get that extra start that you need. So that I like that. I'm shifting towards someone that you should avoid this week, and that's Hellebuyck on the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets have been good this year, but Hellebuyck hasn't actually been that good. He was pretty highly touted. Everyone before is like this guy who was going high up in season drafts. I just don't really like his matchups this week. He's playing the Leafs. Leafs obviously offense didn't look too good against the Canucks, but I mean, you can't deny how good this Leafs offense is. And this is just not a very good matchup for Hellebuyck. There's a good chance that he doesn't come out here with a win. Potentially, I could see him probably splitting, getting 1 win, but I just don't think he's worth a high up pick. He's got a 37 ADP for what he's going to go in drafts. I just don't think he's worth it. So I'm going to sit him this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, to go kind of in that, I guess before I make a comment on Hellebuyck, I'll play dumb here. Why don't we give maybe some new viewers, if they're listening, like what's the breakdown in the sense of a goalie win, shutout, points? If you pick up a goalie compared to maybe in a different, if you're in season long, like how's that breakdown different for maybe someone that's just tuning in for the first time that might not know that? Maybe
OwnersBox basically your goalies are gonna, their projections are right in the mid 20s. You're getting points for saves, and then obviously every goal you give up, there's a bit of a negative there. But so a good goalie game can get you 40, like Jeremy mentioned, even 50 points if you get a shutout, a win, and you had your 30 saves. And a player, you're getting 10 points for a goal, 5 for an assist, and then there's some points for shots, plus minus, things like that. So for a player to kind of get the value of a goalie, you're gonna need your hat trick, and you're gonna need to pile on the points. Where if Vasilevsky can just lock you in wins, that's where kind of the idea there goes. Because I get what you're saying. Where if you've never played on OwnersBox, the idea of why would you take Vasilevsky over McDavid or any of those top guys kind of sounds absurd, but that's the reasoning behind it. That there's a bit more value on goalies. So it does become a question with how he's playing, to your point.
No, I know that's what I wanted to get out. It's just like I said, people are all over different kind of platforms, and honestly, we're huge on OwnersBox for the right reasons. But just to maybe someone that knew maybe not know and say that seemed kind of odd, but that's exactly the reason, like what you're saying. But to go to Jared, back to your actual sit with Hellebuyck. I mean, especially the Leafs coming off back-to-back losses for the first time this season. They're going to be ready to absolutely unload. They didn't really score that much either. Like Mats wasn't that big of a deal. Marner had 2 bad giveaways on Saturday night to lead them away. So they're just kind of that ticking time bomb coming into playing Winnipeg, and it's probably going to explode. So I definitely agree with your sit there. But Brody, you want to maybe go into who you're liking or not liking this week?
Yeah. I think yours is obvious, so don't need to say much more there. Makes perfect sense. I'm sitting Darcy Kuemper this week. So for the Coyotes, they got 4 games, and he's getting drafted right around the same spot as Hellebuyck. So 37, 38. They've got 4 games this week, but the problem is I think they've got 2 against Colorado, who I'm still convinced is a top 5 team. Like they're right on the border standing wise, but I think they're up there. They've struggled with injuries earlier in the year. And, I wouldn't want to be, I don't like picking goalies against whether it be Toronto, Colorado, Vegas, even Tampa. Like there's teams that you just want to avoid those games. So they've got 2 against Colorado, which is a red flag to begin with. Then they've got the Wild, who are still hot and still showing that they can score. They've cooled down a bit, but they're not the Wild of old still. And they're not a team that you can kind of, maybe look for these goalie matchups right now. I would still avoid them. So the combination of those 2 things, Kuemper has great stats this year. And he's high 80% owned on, depending on the season long league, where in season long, I think you've gotten your value out of him, and he's maybe a guy that you can exploit and kind of sell depending on what your view of Arizona is. I still don't think they're quite as good as they've been playing. So I'd be looking to potentially sell him in season long at what might be a high price right now. And on OwnersBox, I'd be staying away just based on the matchups he's got this week.
No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, you always hear kind of Arizona brag about their 3 kind of goalies. You got Ranta, you got Kuemper, and then you got that Aiden Hill guy who kind of comes in as pretty much your 3rd guy, right? So I completely agree with you there. And like you said, the matchups are huge. But it's tough pickings, especially with who they're matching up against. Arizona's been one of those teams where it's kind of like hit and miss, right? Like they get hot, then they don't. So to run it on a goalie saving the day, it's probably not the right call. So Brady, I completely agree with what you're saying. Jerry, you have a comment on that, or?
Yeah, I think I actually have Kuemper in my season-long league, and he's coming back from injury too. I think he just had his first start coming back from injury. I mean, they're not just gonna pound this guy 2 in net for multiple games in a row like he's used to. So they're gonna ease him back in here. So I like that pick. I mean, Darcy, he can get a shit ton of saves, but if he doesn't get that win, it's not as valuable on OwnersBox, which just kills him, which sucks. But I hate that Colorado matchup against Kuemper. But I agree, he should be set this week.
Yeah, no.
Who do you got, Jake?
I got. I'm going a little off the board, like so. I don't do too much. I don't have studs and plugs, but with the goaltenders, I'll throw my little piece in here. I think I've kind of, if we go strategy wise season long, I kind of always have that third goalie I keep adding into my lineup. I drop one, add one, drop one, add one. And I mean, I'm really liking, again, my pronunciation is awful, so bear with me, but Ilya Sorokin with the Islanders. I mean, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but we'll just go with it. They're kind of hesitant to him. Like Varlamov's been really good this year, but I'm trying to think of the coach's name for Islanders. Holy, oh my goodness. You guys know?
Trotz?
Holy,
there you go. I was like, let me throw this out there. If I'm wrong, we both look down. But yeah, Barry Trotz.
Yeah, he's publicly come out and stated, I don't want to play the guy back to back. Like he is their future, right? So yeah. I think they're going to be soft with him. But I mean, when he's in net right now, he has been like solid. His full season record of 4-2-1 isn't that great. I mean, it's good for, I guess, a backup, but it's not like it's like jumps out at you. The GA is 2.14, save percentage is 911. But his last few games, I actually have him in my season long, and I forgot to put him in the lineup today. Off one, so make sure you check your lineups early and often, especially on the weekend games. But yeah, I mean, I just think he's someone that to keep an eye on. You might pick him up. Obviously, I wouldn't go kind of like a Vasilevsky route, but definitely late if you're searching for a goalie. When he comes in, he plays well. I think from here on out, they're going to kind of start sharing the load a bit. Because like I said, he is going to take the reins over eventually from Varlamov, though Varlamov has been absolutely outstanding this season. So I understand why they're hesitant to kind of roll with one of them. But that's who I think, and that's my
team. And so they've got 4 games this week, and they've got 3 against the Devils, right? So I think I like it just based on that. It's kind of same place we all went, right? It's we both went with two sits, kind of who have the tough matchups, and you're going the other way where you've got a team that the Devils have been all right this year, but I mean, there's still the Devils. Like, you can still expect a win in those games. So,
yeah, no, and like I said, you might not get. They played the 9th, 11th, and 13th. They played Boston tomorrow, the 9th, so on Tuesday, I guess that is. So probably you're going to get that start from Varlamov, but then again, he's going to start the 11th with the Devils, and who knows if he plays well. It's not a back-to-back, so he might get the second game against the Devils, right? So definitely got to kind of keep an eye on and look at. But yeah, I mean, from there on out, I think goalies are tough, right? They're so up and down, especially with this league and how the rate that people are scoring. Like you look at the top 10 scoring list, and it just seems bizarre how many points people are over a point per game, which obviously isn't good for goalies, and I think that's why it's starting to make it hard for certain goalies to put in the lineup, take out of the lineup, and whatnot. But I don't know if you guys have any last comments on the goalie segment, but
no, I think that's good. I think we covered it all. I like my pick as a sit, and I think you guys had good picks too. I like Sorokin. If he gets that matchup against the Devils, he's obviously someone that you need to pick up in season long. If you have him, obviously start him, and then owner's box definitely even just do a swap and get him in there for a game. But I like that. But yeah, that's good.
Cool. Well, again, this is our second episode of the goalie segment. Tune in next week. Again, we'll kind of help you get that weekend push for the goalies and hopefully gain you a few points. But until then, fellas, I guess we'll talk next week.
Yeah, talk next week.
Awesome. Well, cheers again, and enjoy the week.